All right, so have you heard about this whole thing with Adele?
I think I saw something about it online. Yeah.
Yeah, so apparently a judge in Brazil ordered one of her songs to be taken down from like everywhere.
Really? Like pulled off streaming services?
Yeah, globally, like off of every platform worldwide.
Wow, that's wild. For copyright. What song are we talking about?
It's million years ago from like 2015.
Oh, yeah. Okay.
And the thing is, it's all because this Brazilian composer, Toninho Gerais, is saying he's saying she basically lifted a bunch of stuff from his song Mulheres.
Okay, so what's Mulheres? Like, is it a recent song?
No, it's actually pretty old. Came out way back in 1995. It was a huge hit in Brazil. A singer named Martinho da Vila recorded it.
Huh. Okay. I'm not familiar with it.
Yeah, well, neither was I, to be honest. But this whole case is like super interesting.
Yeah, I mean, a global injunction, that's not something you hear about every day. Like, what even is that exactly?
So basically, it means that until they figure out what's actually going on with this whole plagiarism thing, Adele can't like sell or stream the song anywhere.
Hmm. So it's not like a final decision or anything.
Right. It's preliminary, but still a pretty big deal.
Yeah, that's a pretty serious move. I mean, just thinking about how much money that could cost.
Right. And then there's the question of whether a Brazilian judge even has the power to do that. Tell the whole world what to do.
Yeah, I was just thinking that. Like, what kind of precedent does this set for international copyright cases, especially with music streaming and all? Like, does this mean any country can just decide what gets played globally?
Right. It's definitely uncharted territory.
So, okay, let's talk about the actual music for a minute. Like, what exactly is Jairus claiming Adele copied?
So he says that like the melody and the chord progression in some parts of Million Years Ago are basically the same as in Molière's.
Hmm. So is it like note for note or?
Not exactly note for note, but apparently it's about the overall feel and structure of those musical phrases.
Okay, yeah, I can see how that would be tricky. Like, where's the line between being influenced by something and straight up copying it?
Right, and like how much overlap is too much.
Exactly. I mean, music is built on these like building blocks, right? Like scales and chords that everyone uses. It's all about how you put them together.
So like sampling is okay, but this isn't? Is that what we're saying?
Well, sampling is a whole other can of worms. There are usually legal agreements in place for that.
True, true.
But yeah, with plagiarism, it's a lot more subjective, and that makes it tough to prove in court.
So how does this Bernese Convention thing everyone keeps bringing up, how does
Yeah.
that factor into all of this?
So the Bernese Convention, it's this international agreement about copyright that goes all the way back to 1886.
Wow, that's old.
Yeah, it basically sets the minimum standards for copyright protection that member countries like Brazil and the UK in this case have to follow.
So it's like a global rule book for copyright.
Kinda, yeah. It's supposed to make sure creative works are protected across borders, so an artist in one country can't just steal from an artist in another country and get away with it.
I see. So even though this whole thing started in Brazil, it could have implications for how copyright cases are handled everywhere.
Exactly. Especially now with digital music, where songs are instantly accessible all over the world, this case could really set a precedent.
Okay, so back to Adele for a sec. So that Ray Guess isn't just going after, like, an apology or whatever. He wants some serious cash, right?
Yeah, he's going after all the royalties Adele made from the song, which is probably a huge amount.
I bet. Plus, he's also asking for something like $160,000 in damages, like for emotional distress or something.
Yeah, moral damages is the term they use. And get this, he also wants songwriting credit on Million Years Ago.
Oh, wow, really?
Yeah, so if he wins this thing, Adele, Sony Music, and Universal Music, they're all going to take a massive hit, financially speaking.
I mean, they'll probably appeal it if they lose, right?
Oh, for sure. But either way, they're looking at a mountain of legal fees on top of everything else.
This reminds me of that thing a few years back. Remember when some Turkish fan said Million Years Ago it sounded like a Turkish song?
Oh, yeah, that's right. It was that song by Ahmet Kaya, Kalara Tutunmak. But I don't think anything ever came of that, legally speaking, at least.
Yeah, but it's interesting, right? Like, this is the second time something like this has come up with this particular song.
Yeah, definitely adds another layer to the whole discussion. Like, is this just a coincidence or is there something more to it?
It really makes you think, about artistic inspiration and where we draw the line between homage and ripping someone off.
Right. I mean, every artist is influenced by the music they've heard, but at what point does it cross over into something else?
Yeah, tough question. But this whole case in Brazil, it's definitely a big deal. Could be a game changer for international copyright law.
Absolutely. And it's not just about Adele. This could affect how music is created and shared all over the world.
Well, this has been super insightful. Thanks for breaking it all down for us. Definitely a lot to think about.
My pleasure. It'll be interesting to see how this all plays out in the courts.
Yeah, for sure. We'll have to keep an eye on it and see what happens. Thanks again for joining us.
Anytime. Thanks for having me.
And to our listeners, keep those ears open. You never know what musical mysteries we'll be uncovering next.